Full screen. Cool. So let's get started. We'll start off with AUDCAD. We'll just delete whatever is not relevant to us this week. Otherwise, higher time frame structure will kind of still be more or less similar. But nonetheless, momentum to the upside, corrective structure, first touch, second touch of some sort, and we're at now maybe a third touch of price. So we're naturally just expecting that we're going to be looking for some bullishness from our support trend line over here. So coming just to the most recent structure on a daily, or just the most recent structure here on a daily. So what we had observed last week was basically we had this low over here. Obviously, price action had broken below that low. We were at support. We were looking for bullish bias momentum. We can then obviously see now that price action, yes, we've broken and closed back above this low, but we've also now most recently, just Friday's price action, we've closed back below this level of structure there. So we basically know that we're being corrective around this level of support over here. So obviously, naturally, we're looking for some sort of a corrective structure to form in this area here. So let's just go down to a 4-hour and we'll discuss the structure. So we'll just delete whatever's not relevant to us anymore. So I think last week we did take a long of, I think we did take a long from somewhere here. So we took this long. I think I'm in another long from here now. Yeah. I entered this Friday evening, just before, just kind of not before markets closed, but yeah, Friday evening. So I'm kind of maybe just hoping that we'll see continuation, but obviously all of this doesn't matter to us now. We just see whatever's relevant for the next decision that we're going to make now. So otherwise, we've got this, we had this expanding structure there. The kind of setup that we were looking for was we were hoping that price action was maybe going to come down and give us some sort of a third touch below this level of structure over there. So we had our alert over here, whatever. We're basically just hoping that price action maybe was going to come down, break below, and give us a third touch and give us a much better risk to reward ratio and better trade for the momentum to the upside. But what allowed us to then obviously observe a shift in momentum was we then observed this new momentum over here. Obviously, we broke the 90% rule of this expanding descending structure over there. And since we created a new higher high, we're obviously not expecting maybe the market has changed structure and we're going to start creating higher highs and higher lows. Naturally, we were looking for that higher low. But nonetheless, everything still remains the same. Since we saw a new break of resistance, naturally so, we're going to be looking for continuation to the upside. So what I want to say about this continuation, let's get into the setup that we could be looking for next week, or let's just delete all of this before we go too far. Cool. So going into next week, guys, first of all, what we need to speak about is we've got a level of structure here, right? We've got this resistance area. We've got origin or source of momentum somewhere inside of here, but we can see that a whole lot of buyers came into the market that were able to break this resistance area somewhere inside of here, or maybe down low, or whatever the case is. We will never know exactly where they came in, but nonetheless, we're looking for that momentum shift. So we can see a big explosion happening inside of here, or at least market stalled, and then all of a sudden, we saw a whole bunch of buyers coming in. So naturally, where I want to be looking for my continuation is somewhere inside of here, looking for that upside continuation. So since obviously market is already tapping into this area, and by the time we look at market, we don't know what's going to happen on Monday by the time Monday morning comes, or whatever the case is. But nonetheless, we are going to still continue to look for that upside continuation. Why? Because we're at higher time frame support over here. We have that momentum that we're looking for to the upside. And basically all we're waiting for to give us an entry is some sort of a structure that warrants us to look for our bullish price momentum. Whether it be a double bottom structure, inverse head and shoulders, doesn't really matter. Break and a retest, it doesn't really matter. All we're looking for is for a bullish bias structure to form somewhere in and around this region for us to start to look for our upside continuations. So as for me, I think that's maybe all I'm going to be looking for. Otherwise, I think my last resort for a long opportunity would maybe be to see price action just retest our support trend line. So let me just adjust it for you guys, but let me see and make sure that I'm not adjusting it weirdly. Oh, we're still touching that low over there. So nonetheless, I think my last resort in trying to look for any sort of long opportunity maybe would just be, if nothing happens in and around this area here for us to continue to look for that bullish price momentum, then obviously my next resort would just be hopefully a retest of our support structure over there. That support trend line that we have there. Maybe price action will come back down, retest the structure, and then we'll find that upside continuation. But nonetheless, I'm still going to be bullish biased just because of where we are within the overall structure. So this pair will still stay hot on the watch list for next week. It's still very much hot. We're still looking for that bullish bias momentum. So we leave this blue tag on there. We'll go on to the next pair, Aussie Swiss franc. Let's go up to a daily. Let's just see what's cooking there on a daily. Cool. So from a daily, what we were doing is we were just kind of focusing on the most recent structure. Let's just delete that. Let's do this. We were just kind of focusing on just the most recent structure over here. I did try and sell. I think this was Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday I tried to short Aussie Swiss franc. Thought maybe Wednesday the momentum would come in, but obviously Thursday, Friday we still stuck around in this area here. So we'll throw that away. That was last week's attempt. But nonetheless, if we look at what's going on here on AUD Swiss franc, we've got this descending structure, right? We've got momentum somehow violating our descending structure. But what I want us to do, just so that we stay relevant and we keep on this whole thing about nature's theory, let's observe the 4 hour and make our decisions primarily based off the 4 hour. So if we look at our structure, right? Our structure on our left-hand side, we've got a whole lot of nonsense there, but just the most recent structure that I want us to look at is cool. We've got lows. Let's just get this. Sorry, we've got highs, we've got new lows, we've got lower highs, and then obviously lower lows. So this is the most recent down move that we have, obviously, that has broken some structure, is this move to the downside. Ever since we had this major support over there, and obviously this extreme resistance up here, we've seen that price action has been creating structure inside of that extreme low and extreme high ever since we created those. So naturally, so even if I look at this 4 hour structure, I can see, yes, we're moving to the upside, higher highs, higher lows, or whatever the case is, but we're not doing so in a very impulsive manner. It somehow kind of looks fairly corrective to me. So what I'm concluding here on Aussie Swiss franc is that we are kind of stuck inside some sort of a range. Considering that we've got this descending structure there, naturally so, maybe I want to be bullish, but obviously I can see price action is not really warranting me to be bullish as yet. We're stuck inside some sort of a range. And if we're in a range, we look for sells from the high of the range, and we obviously look for our buys from the low of the range. What that then tells me is that if I want to follow through on higher time frame bias and look for bullish momentum, I need to wait for price action to come down somewhere close to the low of my range before I look for any opportunities to buy. Where we are right now is too close to resistance for me maybe to look for those continuations to the upside. If I wanted to find continuations to the upside, AUDCAD is so much more clear, and the structure warrants so much more valid for bullish momentum than AUD Swiss franc. So looking at the overall pair, considering that we're still stuck maybe inside some sort of a range, yes, if you wanted to sell, maybe you could isolate the structure that could give you a reason to sell or whatever the case is. But for me, I think I'm going to just stay out until we either get to extreme highs, which is either here, or extreme lows, which is here, for me to then make a decision based off now, what does my structure look like after I've exercised patience and maybe waited for price action to either get to the top or get to the bottom. Once price action is there, I will have exercised a lot of patience, and obviously price action will develop and give me something a little bit better than what's here to work with. So on AUD Swiss franc, going into next week, I think I'm just going to sit out. And I'm just going to be waiting for price action to come to extreme highs and extreme lows. And then we'll re-look at the analysis, redo our analysis, and see if there are any extra opportunities that present themselves. Yeah, cool. So that's AUD Swiss franc. We're not really going to be doing much. We're kind of stuck inside of a range there. Let's go on to some AJ. So AJ, very important. These JPY code pairs, if we look at what we were doing last week, so I didn't delete or clear my analysis from last week. You guys can see we're looking to sell AJ and Swiss yen last week. They were hot on the watch list. They were important. We were watching them. Now, something very important happened on Monday. That was a clear, obvious sign to not trade any JPY code pairs the week, or at least these two, because I'm following JPY code, these three JPY code pairs. So at least for me, Monday was a clear sign not to trade JPY code pairs unless they broke Monday's volatility. But nonetheless, I'll explain to you guys what I mean by all of that gibberish just now. But on a daily, just doing the analysis and getting down to what we need to get down to is we've got this ascending structure. We've broken the ascending structure to the bottom, but we can obviously see it was a grab. It wasn't an impulsive break of structure. But nonetheless, we see this ascending structure. We naturally want to be bearish. We're waiting to trade at extreme levels of structure. If we go down into a 4 hour, there is a level of structure that we quite didn't tap. It's actually on a 1 hour. I still do remember. I think both of these POIs are we've isolated them on a 1 hour, but nonetheless, price action still really hasn't tapped into those areas. If I were to create a structure now that will allow me to trade this bearish bias that I've got, I would then do this. Let's just delete this. And obviously observe that, yes, as much as right now we can see that price action has just broken our resistance, it's just broken some level of resistance. Obviously, this was the last high before price broke a support or whatever the case was. Nonetheless, we can see that, yes, we've broken some sort of a resistance, but we've broken that resistance in a fairly corrective manner. So obviously, I know we're breaking structure correctively. I should be looking for some sort of a corrective structure, whether it's a reversal, whether it's a continuation, that would depend on my bias. So obviously looking at things, I've got a bearish bias, naturally. So isolate whatever highs I've got or whatever higher lows I've got. Doesn't really look nice, but otherwise we're looking to trade where we're looking to sell at resistance. We're looking to sell as high as we can sell. So that support there doesn't really even matter. We can delete it and not even have it there. But what I want to look at is our resistance. I want to look at our resistance. And I want us to focus on the fact that we've got some sort of a first touch over here. We've got some sort of a second touch over here. We've got a POI over there. We've got another POI over here. And obviously, we've got the potential for price action to come up and give us a third touch that increases the probabilities and gives us a nice region for us to obviously look for that downside continuation. So on AJ, I am still 100% bearish. All that's changed is that, oh, well, nothing's changed. We're still waiting for price action to tap into this POI and come to an area where we get better probabilities to actually sell this JPY code pair. So coming into what I was saying in the beginning of what happened on Monday. You guys saw this was Monday. Monday opened, we saw big volatility making this extreme high here, making this extreme low. That was Monday. And this is a 1 hour. So this was in the space of 2 hours. We saw this whole big range of, I don't know how many, 100, maybe 150 pips volatility. Ever since Tuesday, we were still inside here. Wednesday, we were still inside here. Thursday, we're still inside here. Friday, we're still inside here. We're still stuck inside of a range. I don't know what was the cause of this volatility, but obviously, I know that price action needs to break structure in some sort of a level to show me where it's going. And this whole week we've been inside of this volatility. That was enough reason for me to stay out, understanding that since I'm inside of a range, I can get chopped. JPY code pairs can chop me and I shouldn't be crossed. It's not my system. I'm just trading in an environment that's just nasty. So this is a nice observation. If you guys are watching your pairs and trying to avoid unnecessary losses, that would have been a nice spot for you guys. But otherwise, yes, what we were looking for obviously was we were looking at this resistance here, and we were obviously looking to trade off this resistance for downside continuation. But Monday morning Asian session, she rocked, and then she made us stay out of the market the whole week on JPY code pairs. So sell bias, we're still waiting for that setup over there. Let's go on to some AU. Go up to a daily. So on AU, I've been bullish bias, just waiting for the price action to give me setups, since we can obviously see there's a whole bunch of sellers involved for some weird reason. But nonetheless, we can see that we last week, kind of what we were doing was we were using our lows to make decisions and work off. And obviously we were waiting for price action to come and tap into this. I think it was a 4 hour, I don't know, it was 4 hour, 1 hour. But nonetheless, we were waiting for price action to tap into this POI to give us that upside continuation, or rather, at least this was our lowest area where it was the safest for us to look for buys in a market that's obviously pumping down. Nonetheless, we can see that we've broken back above a level of structure, and naturally so, things become very simple for us on that 4 hours, since we have a level of structure that we've broken below, and we've broken back above. All we're waiting for is for price action to come back and retest this level of structure. So we've got a point of interest. All we're doing is we're waiting for price action to come down to a level of support, give us some sort of a structure, some sort of a pattern that allows us to jump into the market. And once we see that, then we're game. This is the setup. I'm still bullish bias on AU. I think, I think I'm still not going to put this on my priority list for next week, but I will watch it intensely, waiting for a structure. If a nice clear structure develops somewhere in and around this area, then let's do the things to be done. Let's jump into the buy. That's our signal to buy. But otherwise, I still feel like market is still fairly, is pumping, is still in a downtrend. Like, I mean, this is our last resistance that has broken support over here. And obviously we can see that price action is still below, everything is still 100% downtrend, right? So I don't want to be too aggressive. I'd rather, the same way we were waiting for something that was very safe here, I would also want to wait for something that's very safe because market is still in a downtrend. So if we don't get a clear enough structure, still not going to partake. We let the bullish momentum continue without us if that's what happens. Yeah, let's be safe. Let's be safe. So I am bullish bias on AU, but I am not going to add a tag there because it's not going to be on the watch list for next week. Let's go on to some SUSIAN. So SUSIAN basically did the same thing as AJ. This was the volatility, that Monday volatility over there inside of this candlestick, and the whole week we stayed inside. So I didn't trade SUSIAN the whole week. But otherwise, on SUSIAN, what we were looking for was we had isolated this PLI, obviously considering that we've given our third touch there. We've seen some momentum that has been able to violate the structure. We observed the corrective structure over there, obviously momentum, impulse, correction. And in this correction, we're looking to trade somewhere up here. We tapped into there. We gave more momentum, breaking a new level of structure, which validated a new point of interest for us. And obviously last week, we were waiting for trades inside of this PLI, which Monday morning just spoiled everything for us. Now, what we can do to be a little bit safe, let's accommodate. Okay, let me just delete all of this nonsense over here. I think SUSIAN is probably not going to be on the watch list for me next week. I think I'll just keep AJ there. SUSIAN, maybe I'll remove. But what I want to do is I just want to accommodate for the most recent this spike or whatever, spring or whatever we have there. And then also I want to just focus on this most recent resistance area that we've got here. So let's just delete this. We delete this PLI. And then this, I think we can just use to mark our extreme high. And naturally, what I want to do is I want to just wait for price action to maybe at least come and break above this resistance area. Since we're in some sort of a corrective structure and things are a little bit confusing, this is my extreme high. This is my extreme low. I've seen price action inside. If ever this is a range of some sort, I want to trade somewhere at resistance. So whether price action maybe rejects off this resistance or we break above this resistance, whatever the case is, if we break above and we don't find any reversals, we wait for price action to break back below and obviously retest for reduced risk entries. So I feel like I'm going to take SUSIAN off for next week because it just looks like maybe it's going to require some patience. And yeah, we'll just see and watch it. Maybe we'll just set an alert and wait for price action to maybe trigger this alert before we look at SUSIAN. But otherwise, for a sell buy setup, maybe AJ is just a little bit nicer, a little bit more clear. Everything is just stars align so much better on AJ than on SUSIAN. So let's just remove SUSIAN from the priority list for next week. New Zealand dollar CAD. Let's go up to daily. So still last week's structure, we're looking at this descending structure, first touch, second touch, third touch, fourth touch, doesn't matter. What matters is the context. Context being that we're at some support right now. So obviously we're making decisions based off that. We're at support. Makes sense to want to be a buyer from support. Nonetheless, if we just drop down onto a 4-hour and look at or speak about what we were looking at last week. So last week, all we observed was we had an extreme high and an extreme low, whatever the case was. But nonetheless, we are stuck inside some sort of a range. We were still looking for bullish momentum. I think last week when we looked at this, price was somewhere up here maybe, or somewhere inside of here. I don't really remember, but somewhere here. But what we decided that was because price action was still being corrective as we're moving to the upside. And by that time, we had not broken up. We didn't break above this resistance as yet. We were being safe and we were obviously expecting that, okay, maybe there's still the potential for a bunch of sellers to come into this market and to send price action down. So what we'll do is we'll still keep 2 weeks ago's analysis of waiting for price action to, or at least looking to trade buys at the low of our range. That's what we were looking for last week. So obviously, yes, we've broken this resistance. We've finally broken a nice important resistance, the last resistance that has managed to break some sort of a support. We've finally broken above that resistance. So naturally so, yes, I want to be a buyer. Maybe I still want to be a buyer at the low of this range still. Because yeah, yes, we've broken above, we've created a new higher high, but we haven't really moved from this resistance or from this area like this previous resistance as yet. So I think I still just want to be safe because this looks very corrective. Doesn't look like I don't see any evidence of a lot of buyers being involved here, besides the fact that you started a 4-hour uptrend. That's my only indication. But otherwise, in terms of a lot of momentum and stuff, I don't really see it. Yeah, so I and as well as higher time frame, let's also not forget higher time frame. We've got this previous support that we've broken below. Obviously, that still can function as resistance, and we still can see maybe market moving to the downside to respect maybe a higher time frame support as resistance. And until maybe we see price action properly breaking above and maybe coming back to retest, then maybe we don't want to be looking to buy somewhere close to this resistance as yet. And if I still want to be a buyer, then maybe I still want to be a buyer down low. So I think for a third week in a row, I'm going to be looking for the exact same setup, still at the low of my range, still looks very attractive for me. Maybe I'm missing the momentum. But if we are missing this momentum, let's not forget New Zealand dollar CAD and AUD CAD are positively correlated. And you guys can see that this one is on the watch list. It's there, it's hot, it's where we want to trade. So obviously looking at the two, let's rather take that risk on AUD CAD rather than New Zealand dollar CAD because of the context, because of where we are within the structure and the type of probabilities that the specific structures present to us, just based off whatever theory we're using, ascending structures, being at resistance, being at support, uptrends, downtrends, all that stuff. So I think New Zealand dollar CAD, maybe for next week, I'm going to take her off the priority list just because of where she is now. And then maybe let's just set an alert somewhere inside of here just so that we can trade. If ever she comes back into the range and she starts to move towards the low of the range, then maybe we want to start looking at New Zealand dollar CAD. Otherwise, let's go on to New Zealand dollar yen. So New Zealand dollar yen, for a while now, I haven't been trading New Zealand dollar yen. Very obvious. We're stuck inside some sort of a range. Me, I don't want to be chopped inside this big range. I just want to wait for price action to come to the high or to the low of the range, which obviously maybe now we're going to the high of this range. So yeah, let's continue to exercise patience and see if we still do come a little bit higher. Let's isolate some points of interest there, since I do see some nice areas of momentum shift. We've got one over here. Beautiful area for us to look for. That downside continuation. I don't think I want to trade anywhere by this resistance. Maybe the next area or the next POI would probably be this resistance trend line here. So we've got two POIs. Yo, this looks fairly nice. I think let's substitute Swiss yen, because Swiss yen doesn't look too clear. It looks like it's gonna require a lot of patience. So maybe let's just substitute Swiss yen with New Zealand dollar yen, because even still, remember that Monday crap that happened, we had an extreme high and an extreme low, and we've been stuck inside of this range. So naturally, even so, if I'm in a range, where is this POI? This POI is at the high of my range. So I'm still trading at maybe an intraday, some sort of intraday resistance or whatever the case is. Then obviously, if this setup fails, then we just wait for price action to come up to our resistance. So I am sell biased. Yeah, the New Zealand dollar yen is definitely going to go back on the watch list. It's just want to see the overall structure. Cool. Yeah. So New Zealand dollar yen, yes, I will be bearish from this POI there. Let's just wait and see if price action does come up there. That'll give us an entry. Just setting that somewhere. Last pair we're gonna have a look at, guys. US30. Yeah, US30 messed up my sniper entry yesterday. I was holding a sniper entry from Thursday from this resistance, and it invalidated this whole structure. But nonetheless, not surprising. I'm not sure. Market is market. Let's delete all of the stuff that's not relevant to us anymore, and we'll hop back up to the higher time frames and just see what the higher time frames have for us now. Damn, looks nice. Hey, looks nice. Nonetheless, so US30, right? We've been using this expanding structure for a while to make decisions off. So I feel like let's continue to use this ascending structure, and obviously, naturally, so the closer I get to this resistance area here, this higher time frame resistance, the less maybe I want to be a buyer. In terms of what we're gonna do on our lower time frames. And obviously on our low time frames, we can't deny buyers are clearly involved. So let's just look for that continuation to the upside wherever we can find continuation to the upside. So from a 4 hour, obviously we've got a most recent break of resistance. We've got this most recent resistance. So let's just go on a 1 hour and see if we can make this much nicer. Cool. We've got this most recent break of resistance. So obviously price action is moving. We don't jump in while it's moving. We wait like everywhere else, no matter even if the pause is as small as these pauses over here or whatever the case is, or as long as this pause here that even pumped me into a sell, I thought I was going to turn into a head and shoulders. But it is what it is. Yeah, even if the pause is this long, there's going to be a pause before market continues to the upside. So obviously, where do I want to find upside continuation? I want to find upside continuation at previous resistance. Hopefully, price will treat that resistance as support. So that's where I want to look for my upside continuation. The closer price action gets to this resistance, the less I want to be a seller, because we've got this dynamic resistance over there and as well as this horizontal resistance, and we can clearly see there was a lot of momentum that came from this area here. Yeah, cool. I think US30 was fairly simple because we are moving right now. I mean, I don't want to go against all of this momentum and look to sell anywhere here because we're still slap bang in the middle of nowhere. If ever I wanted to sell, maybe I would want to sell somewhere at this resistance because there's two types of buyers. Two types of sellers. The sellers that are looking at horizontal resistance, and there's also sellers that are looking at resistance trend lines that are going to probably be here. So I would rather maybe look to sell up there than anywhere inside of here. And otherwise, market has been bullish. Let's look for upside continuation. Just knowing myself and wanting to be a little bit clear with you guys. That's my lowest buy on US30. If ever I wanted to buy US30 and get a sniper or whatever the case is, or a good entry, that's premium discount for any buyer or whatever. If this was an institution that started to buy at the support or whatever the case is, this would probably be the lowest point they'd let price action go. Obviously, they're not going to let price action go below where they entered. So obviously, maybe this would be the cheapest place to jump in as a buyer. So yeah, let's look either for this break and a retest because there is a nice POI over here as well. Jesus, beautiful POI that aligns with our resistance. Nice. So on a 15-minute, we've got two areas, obviously, where we can see nice, good amount of buyers coming in there, good amount of buyers coming in there. So obviously, if ever there's a corrective structure, continuation to the upside, where do I want to look for my buys or for this corrective structure to terminate? First area is inside of this POI. Obviously, if this fails and it turns into something else, the next area where I want to look for my buy is down low at this next POI there. So yeah, I think I will still remain bullish on US30. Look for the upside continuation because it's been bullish as ever. And then obviously, when price action gets to there, we'll see and adjust depending on what it looks like. I think I'm 100% done, guys. 100% done with the analysis. We've been through everything. So for next week, I think just 4 pairs mainly that are going to be hot on the watch list. 2 sells on these JPY code pairs, AJ and New Zealand dollar yen, and then obviously look to long AUDCAD, upside continuation, and obviously US30. Yeah. I think I'm 100% done, guys. Yeah. Let there be peace. Let there be peace in the streets there, guys. Let there be peace in the streets. Let our brothers and sisters be safe, guys. Otherwise, if you guys came late or whatever the case is, you'll catch the upload on YouTube. You'll catch the upload on YouTube. Cheers, guys.